Hello and welcome to number 2 of our seminars on assistive listening for churches. The bottom line in this one is, I'll give you a summary before we actually complete it, is that to effectively retain existing as well as new members with hearing problems, churches will need to better understand the effects of hearing loss on participation in church life, and also they need to utilise the latest assistive listening technologies. Hearing loss is the most commonly thought of as simply reduced loudness. This is a common misassumption. But it's something that hearing aids should easily cure, most people think. That's wrong. It's far more complex. While a reduction of loudness levels is part of the picture, the most debilitating effect is felt from a reduced ability to understand speech, especially in areas filled with people, such as churches, halls, and shopping malls. And as we spoke about it in the first seminar, hearing aids in most cases are aids, they're not cures. If the hearing loss is in the mild to moderate range, hearing aids do solve most hearing problems, and are usually sufficient for such people in churches if normal public address systems are in use. Remember, this pertains only to people with mild hearing loss. But people with severe hearing loss usually find that speech can still be very difficult to understand in large, crowded areas, even when they're using the hearing aids and the public address systems are being used. Why is this the case? Because the issue is not loudness, it is clarity. The problem is not that sound isn't loud enough, but that it's not clear enough, especially in crowded or noisy places. Why can't hearing aids fix this problem for people with severe hearing loss like me? Let's look at the audiogram graph again. Loss of hearing in the high-frequency range reduces the ability to understand many high-frequency speech cues, such as the voices of women and children. Also, many background sounds in crowded, noisy places occur in the middle to the lower spectrum and are heard much louder than damaged high-frequency speech sounds, even at close range. Hearing aids with the latest technology to control background noise provides significant help to minimise those problems for people with mild to moderate hearing loss. They do a good job. And much of that is accomplished by what we call directional microphones. Most of you have heard of that. You have microphones that pick up all sounds all around them. That's called omnidirectional microphones. They pick up all sounds, so it's hard to sort it out. Directional microphones allow the person to focus on where they point their head, like that. So it is better in noisy situations. It reduces the level of the background noise around the person and focuses on the speech if it's not too far away from the person. But if you're in a crowded room with lots of people speaking, the effect gets drowned out. It doesn't make a lot of difference. If the hearing loss is severe or greater, even the best hearing aids are only partially successful in noisy places. The only way to fix that problem is to use assistive listening devices. They do effectively improve clarity for people with hearing difficulty in auditoriums and churches. How does that work? Well, it's simply from using a microphone like this or on your shirt is much better than using a microphone on the top of the camera, for example. The further away you go with the microphone, the more ambient noise and background noise you pick up. This type of microphone picks up the speech at close range, much louder than the surrounding background noise, and transmits that to hearing aids wirelessly to get a much better audio signal. Churches that fail to recognise and address such situations will by default force people with severe hearing loss to stop attending when they see that the church doesn't make any provision for the hearing aids. And this has happened to me on many occasions. Assistive listening systems are therefore essential if churches are to provide optimal participation for members and visitors with hearing loss. It's very important that our church not only make provision, but is seen to make provision. There's a few factors involved in that. We're now going to look at some of the systems that are available in the marketplace. If you go back a few years, the first or earliest form of assistive listening systems in churches were seats fitted with headphone sockets. And some older churches and cinemas still use this system. You can go to a cinema, for example, pay a deposit over the counter, they give you a pair of headphones, you have to sit in a specific seat, you plug the headphones in, and away you go. But if you have a hearing aid, the only way you can use it is take the hearing aid out and turn up the volume. There's quite a few problems with that kind of system. You've got restricted seating choices, personal hearing aids have to be taken out, and of course ear hygiene, when you've got multiple users, is a problem because the headphones have to be cleaned after every use. Another system which is probably still in a lot of use today around the world is the audio loop system. Audio loops consist of a rack-mounted amplifier connected to a hardwired antenna which is installed on top of the floor or under the floor carpet of a specific area. This was first introduced in the 1970s. And they're still the most common listening systems in use today. But they're becoming increasingly redundant or disused for a variety of reasons. One of those reasons is that loops only work with hearing aids or implants, cochlear implants, fitted with telecoils. Where some hearing aid users with severe hearing loss may still use loops, there is no need to uninstall them, you don't have to take them out. But it's important to realise that most new hearing aids for mild to moderate hearing losses will not work with loops. And the reason for that is simply technological development. I have used loops many times. The way it works is you sit within the looped area, switch your hearing aid to telecoil or telephone switch, which picks up the audio loop signal electromagnetically into the hearing aid, and then you can adjust the volume by using your hearing aid. It makes a big difference. But there's problems with it too, because if you have a lot of light systems in the building, the incandescent light can interfere with that audio loop signal. If you have a lot of cabling, electronic cabling in the building, that also will cause a magnetic field which can interfere with the audio loop signal. I can remember being to a church camp, for example, where we had loop systems installed before all this new technology was available. And the background hum, the electronic hum, when you switch the hearing aid onto telecoil or loop pickup, it picked up all this stray magnetic radiation from the lights and the cabling. That stray magnetic radiation was so loud, it drowned out the audio loop signal. So the system became virtually useless. Loop performance varies significantly, and if it's not installed professionally, it can be subject to dead spots. You can sit in a certain part of the audience and find it doesn't work. And if you move your head a certain way, it can also affect the pickup because it's related to the angle of the antenna in the hearing aid relative to the one on the floor. Move your head the wrong way and the loop signal can drop out. It can also cause loud feedback howl in venue public address systems. Sometimes if the microphone is placed inside the audio loop, it can cause a feedback howl, which will cause the AV operators to switch the system off. There goes the hope for hard of hearing people. There are also large, complex, fixed systems. They're not easily portable for use in other venues, such as meetings in rented halls, public evangelistic programs, or church camps, etc. A third system we want to look at is radio frequency or wireless systems. These systems transmit audio directly from a microphone or audio feed from a sound desk. There's no dead spots or interference and you can sit wherever you like. People with hearing problems are given a pocket-sized radio receiver, like this one, with a choice of small over-the-ear headphones or just earbuds that they can use with or without hearing aids. If you have a hearing aid and you have an audio loop in your hearing aid, you can plug in a neck loop which goes around the neck, and the hearing aid will still work in the telecoil position. There are some advantages with that system. One is it's portable, it works indoors or outdoors. Average range is approximately 100 metres. No cabling is needed. Users can sit anywhere within a 100-metre radius. And there's minimal interference potential. There's another system. There's one disadvantage there. Audio cannot be restricted to one area. It broadcasts generally. So if you have an adjoining room with another seminar going on in there, the audio loop signal will feed back into that room and anybody with a telecoil can pick it up. Now, what difference does the sound of audio differ if you use this wireless system? As I spoke to you earlier about close microphones versus a distant microphone, you can see an improvement in clarity. I'm going to let you watch a little video now which demonstrates what this system actually sounds like in a noisy area. In this case, it's being used as a tour guide, a tour system in a noisy factory. Watch the video and you will see.
In this location, we can put a full set where we're all standing right now. Or we're going up side over here. And then these cranes that you see there above us, and that crane over there, they have several different articulating pieces they can spin around, the whole thing can spin around. They can drop actors and sets at 6 feet per second. It's nearly a free fall. They can do some really, really cool things. And so as an actor, to this area, private bathrooms, drinking fountain, coat check. Oh, fun, they started painting this. Cool. But also a good rig. The sound is awesome. One of the things that we're really, really proud of with the sound is below each of these seats is a thin copper ribbon. Also in the other theater. And it is a loop system, which a lot of folks in the neighborhood have not heard about. It's now ADA requirement in New York State. If you use federal funds, you have to put in a loop system.
Another system we need to look at is an infrared system. These look the same as this, but instead of using wireless radio signals, it uses infrared light waves. The only disadvantage with this system is direct sunlight can cause interference if you sit somewhere and the sun is shining on this. So if you're near an open window and the sun is shining on the receiver, or the transmitter for that matter, it can interfere with the signal. Just like the radio frequency system, you use this receiver, an infrared receiver, and you have a choice of headphones, earbuds, or a neck loop if you want to. Some advantages of this system: it's portable, indoor use, but only indoor use. If you use it outdoors, then sunlight can affect the signal, so it's not good for that. The audio is confined to one room, so if you have adjoining rooms with multiple seminars going on, you don't want the signal transmitting over into the other room. Infrared system will keep it confined to the walls of that room. They use this system quite a lot in courtrooms, for example. Again, users can sit anywhere, and it won't cause interference in public address systems. There's another system we want to look at, which is probably the most up-to-date system available at the moment. And that's Wi-Fi live-streamed assistive listening systems. There are a few of these on the market, but we're only going to talk about one of them, called Listen Everywhere. It's a new technology already in use in commercial venues, and it is particularly useful as an assistive listening and translation system in churches. Did you get that? You can not only use it for assistive listening, you can also use this system to translate a service into another language, and more than one language if you wish. Watch a short video that describes what this system actually is and how it works, given to us by the manufacturer of Listen Everywhere.
Listen Everywhere is the first Wi-Fi streaming solution perfect for personal and assistive listening. With the free iPhone and Android app, your guests can choose to stream audio from multiple sources in your venue using their own smartphone or tablet. In a sports bar or restaurant, Listen Everywhere lets your customers choose the game or station they want to hear from the variety of channels broadcast from the stations or local radio. At a conference or house of worship, you can select from the translations provided, enhance audio for those needing assistive listening, or provide audio for overflow or cry rooms, in waiting rooms, casinos, hotels, airports, museums, or tours. Anywhere guests need to listen to audio, the simple design of Listen Everywhere makes it incredibly easy to set up and operate. Just connect audio sources and your local area network to the Listen Everywhere servers. Your customers download the Listen Everywhere app from the Apple Store or the Google Play Store and connect to your Wi-Fi network. When the app is opened, your customized welcome message or video is the first thing they see. Using our design specifications, easily add your logo and create, upload, and manage personalized scrolling banners for announcements, advertisements, programs, and more. You can even upload PDFs like menus or event schedules and list all your offers under one tab. Improve the customer experience and set yourself apart from the competition. Get Listen Everywhere today.
Users of the latest hearing aids with direct streaming technology can connect wirelessly to their phones and hear the church audio with significantly improved clarity without any need for earbuds or neck loops. Hearing aid users without direct streaming technology can still connect to their phones or tablets with their earbuds or loan neck loops. The churches can make available neck loops for loan to people. As you will see on the slide on the screen, you can use your own earbuds, plug into your phone, or use wireless earbuds that will connect to your phone. You can use it that way as well. If your hearing aid has direct streaming, of course, you don't need any additional earbuds. Some advantages for this system: it's the cheapest and the simplest of all assistive listening systems. It can be used by anyone with a smartphone or a tablet. It can be used indoors or outdoors within approximately 100 metres from the venue, and it doubles as a language translation system. The software allows the audiovisual operators to insert sliding banners or promotional videos, bulletin notices, event announcements, registrations, online tithe payments, donations, etc. in the front part of the phone. They can change that, plug the transmitter into a computer, and you can alter what appears on the phone. So when people come into the church, instead of having a paper bulletin, they've effectively got an electronic bulletin, which they can look at any time, press links to go to online donations or tithe payments, or press links to watch videos or whatever, and other things coming up. Now, how well does this work in reality? We have a little video we want to show you of what happened with this system when they tried to use it at the Grey Nomads camp in New South Wales recently. Let's watch the video.
Hi, Dwayne, do you wear hearing aids?
I do.
Okay, so you're the guy that we ought to talk to will tell us how all this works. We've got the sound system going here for camp.
Yes.
How do people with hearing aids get to hear sound far more clearly than before?
Well, traditionally we used to use a hearing loop, which used a T-coil system. But what I've discovered since I've actually started wearing hearing aids is that the T-coils really don't exist any longer. So what we've been looking at is into a system that uses Bluetooth. So what we do is we take audio out of our mixing desk now, and instead of going into a hearing loop amplifier, we put it into a Listen Everywhere device.
So tell us about the Listen Everywhere device.
So the Listen Everywhere device is a little small box. That's this guy here. It takes audio out of the mixing desk into the little box. This little box encodes the audio signal, and then via a cat cable connected to a Wi-Fi device, it then broadcasts it to a free app that you can download on your phone.
And that app is called?
That app is called Listen Everywhere. So once somebody wants to access this, we download the app onto their phone, we connect it to the Wi-Fi device, and they can hear the sound in their ears.
As clearly as though the speaker's speaking directly to them?
Correct.
Okay, let me take...
Okay, so what I'll show you is once I'm in my phone, I'm going to go to my Wi-Fi. I'm going to connect to the Wi-Fi that the system is broadcasting on. There it is, Netgear 64, which is this device. And once I get the tick, there we go, I then go back into my phone and I open up the Listen Everywhere app. So if I touch that, it then opens up and it comes up with 2 audio streams. And I can choose either one of those. Just simply by tapping on here, I can now hear what's being played through the system. And obviously I can then turn the volume up and down on my telephone to suit what I want to hear. So some of the issues that we've discovered is that sometimes people will hear a delay between their phone or what they hear out of the speakers and what they hear in their ears. And what we've discovered is there are a number of things that can cause that. One is sometimes it's the actual connection to the Wi-Fi device itself. Sometimes it's the feed, and you remember how I showed you there were 2 options. Sometimes if you switch to the second one, it usually does it better. The other thing that we've really discovered is often a lot of our users have multiple apps open on their phone at the same time. And so what we found is if we close all those other apps, it reduces the chance of that delay occurring. The delay is often caused also by the quality of the Bluetooth connection between your telephone and your hearing aid. So some of the older hearing aids struggle a little bit, and the way that we've managed to get around that is that we suggest that people just have a set of headphones that they can plug into their telephone or their smart device, because you could do it on an iPad or a tablet as well, and plug those headphones into your ears, and that takes that delay away altogether. So in the whole, we've had really good success about people being able to hear the program clearly without any delays.
So a question.
Yes.
Do you think this would be good advice, a good device to have in every church?
Absolutely, absolutely. Often we underestimate the number of people who would actually benefit from having this device in the church. So I know that I've met quite a number of people who are just overjoyed because all of a sudden, after a number of years, they can actually participate because they can hear the program itself.
And let's reiterate, you are a sound tech guy who has his own hearing aids.
Correct, that's right.
So it's a benefit to you?
It can be, yes, definitely.
Well, what's your name?
Ron Ringrose.
And Ron, what church do you go to?
Well, we're a little group at Agnes Waters up in Queensland. We just formed a little group there. We found some land we wanted in a nice warm climate, and that's where we've settled. Now
And Ron, do you have trouble hearing in a group setting?
Oh, yes, we do. For years we've struggled because we can hear people talking, especially in a small group, but you can't hear what they're saying.
And have you taken any steps to correct that?
Yeah, well, that's been corrected now with my hearing aids, which are bringing up the high frequency because it's been destroyed in my work in industrial and driving heavy machinery and that kind of thing, and I've lost my high frequency hearing, and so the aids bring that up, but you get into a group and you've still got a problem with the background noise. Yeah.
So in your group, do you use the listening app?
No, not yet.
No? Here at this camp, have you used the listening app?
We've used it here in the camp, and I'd recommend it. It's really good because made it a lot more clearer, and also you're cutting out all the background noise, and you can hear it straight from the microphone, which is the best you can get.
And is it in sync with the voice, or is there some delay occasionally?
Well, the first we tried it, it was quite a bit delayed, but what we're using now is pretty much in sync with the speaker, which is excellent.
So, can you look at the camera now? And I'm going to ask you, would you recommend it for churches? Do you recommend this for other churches to use?
We'd recommend it to every church, especially the bigger churches, where, you know, it's vital that you go to church and hear the message. And if you can't hear it, well, you don't feel like being there. But
you're disenfranchised, is that what you're saying?
yes, yeah. And we've met a number of people in the bigger churches, and I've asked them, you know, casually, why don't you attend church? Oh, I can't hear it. And I thought, well, this needs to be in every church. Yeah.
Whatever technology your church decides to use, there's one point that I made in my last seminar on hearing loss and church life that I want to repeat in this seminar. And that is to be sure to instruct all the presenters in your church how to use a microphone correctly. Because this one technique can make a huge difference for everyone, not just people with hearing problems. Watch the video on the next slide.
When speaking with the microphone, it is very important that you hold it properly, because otherwise people won't be able to hear you. The first step is making sure that you hold it firmly so that you don't drop it. Simply hold the microphone with your full hand and not only with the fingers. Hold the microphone by the handle, not here. And also, although you might be a hip-hop fan, don't hold it like this. Simply hold it with your full hand by the handle. Now we will go through the 3 best positions for holding the microphone to achieve maximum efficiency. But before we get to that, there is one universal rule, a general principle that you should always adhere to when working with the microphone, and that is hold the hand with the microphone steady. Here's the thing. We all gesture with our hands when speaking. However, the problem is when we also gesture with the microphone hand. Every time when you move the microphone away from yourself, people can't hear you. Now, it sounds something like this. Good evening, ladies. Thank you here. Tonight, I would like to talk about me. So remember, you can do anything you want with your free hand, but the hand with the microphone has to stay steady. Don't point to anything with it, don't gesture with it, don't wave your friends in the audience with it. The microphone hand has to stay steady. Now, the 3 best microphone positions are: number 1, hold the microphone in a horizontal, slightly diagonal position in the height of your mouth with a distance of about 3 to 4 fingers between them. Seen from the front, it looks something like this. The position number 2 is similar, but you hold the microphone in a vertical position, slightly in front and under your chin, also about 3 to 4 fingers between them. This position may be even better because your face is not covered, so this is the position that I actually recommend the most. The position number 3 can be very helpful if you have difficulties keeping the microphone hand steady. What you can do is simply lean the microphone against your chin so that it stays fixed, and to make sure that you don't move it away from yourself. It may feel somewhat weird, but trust me, it is perfectly normal, and even some professionals do it. So, there you have it, how to hold the microphone so that your message is heard.
Next thing we want to look at is the law. What's the legal requirement for these systems in Australia, United States, elsewhere in the world? If you look at Australian law, the law states, the Building Code of Australia this is, requires that assistive listening systems must be installed in all new public venues. Older buildings are exempt, but we still have an ethical obligation to provide access for all types of disabilities, not just people with hearing problems. We need ramps for people with wheelchairs. We need braille systems so people with vision problems can find their way around. There's always an ethical obligation, even if it isn't written into law. There's more than one law in Australia, there's two. While the Building Code of Australia and Access to Premises Standard apply only to new buildings, the Disability Discrimination Act needs to be complied with no matter what the age of the building. To be fully compliant with Australian law, every receiver, whether if you have a receiver like this, or a smartphone using Wi-Fi, it must have a neck loop and set of headphones available as an option. That doesn't mean it has to be used, but it needs to be available if someone comes in with a hearing aid equipped with a telecoil, not equipped with direct audio streaming technology. They have to be given the option of the neck loop if they want it, and maybe some loan headphones. Failure to provide an assistive listening device with a choice of neck loops or headphones as interface options, as well as prominent signage and instruction cards, as you see on the slide, could lead to a complaint being made to the Human Rights Commission. In the United States, they have the American with Disabilities Act, or the ADA, that prohibits businesses and agencies from discriminating on the basis of disability. The ADA also establishes requirements designed to ensure that accommodations are provided for individuals with hearing impairments. These accommodations include assistive listening systems, which are required in new constructions as they are in Australia, renovations, or anywhere professional audio-visual system is being installed or upgraded. Private companies, commercial facilities, and state or local government buildings providing goods or services to the public are all required to make such accommodations. Complying with the ADA means having an assistive listening systems in any assembly area where audio communication is integral to the use of the space. These areas can include classrooms, courtrooms, public meeting rooms, legislative chambers, performing arts centres, arenas, convention centres, and many other public places, such as churches. And the law also requires signage to inform patrons that such a system is available. So signage is very important. Printable signage and instruction cards for several assistive listening systems are available for free download from Christian Services for the Blind and Hearing Impaired website. You can scan that icon there, or you can go to that website and you can look at the different instruction cards and the signage for various systems. You can download them, print them out, and you can put them in your churches. The instruction cards are very handy because if someone comes into your church and they see a sign saying you have an assistive listening system, or you ask someone about it, the AV operator or the church usher, whoever it is, should be able to give them an instruction card to explain to them how to use the system. Otherwise, it can be difficult and quite disruptive to help people when maybe a program's already going on. The instruction card is very helpful. The background to this supply chain arrangements we're talking about here is very important. If you go back to 2018, Christian Services for the Blind and Hearing Impaired in Australia conducted extensive research to find the following things. Number one, we wanted to locate the most suitable assistive listening products. In other words, they had to work well, and also the suppliers had to have a knowledge of what they were doing, because some suppliers would add assistive listening product to their product line, but when you speak to them about it, they're fairly clueless as to how these things should work. They don't have a lot of knowledge. And we needed reliable suppliers with national sales and service outlets in every state. That doesn't just apply to Australia, it applies internationally. We needed to find a supplier who could provide these products all over the globe in key local centres and do it reliably. While there were several products on the market, only one, called Listen Technologies, were the only products that could meet 100% of our research specifications. Only one. And that was Listen Technologies. And Christian Services for the Blind and Hearing Impaired were very careful to ensure that no financial relationships would exist between any product manufacturer or suppliers and Christian Services for the Blind and Hearing Impaired. We do not want our churches to think that there's some kind of kickback going for these organisations for doing that. We wanted to make products available to our churches and also to help our church leaders sort through the maze of technological options. If you go onto the internet looking at assistive listening systems, you will find there are hundreds of options available. Unless you are an audio professional and with some knowledge of these things, or even a hearing professional, you find it very difficult to sort through these options. Some may look cheap, but there can be downsides to them. It's very important that this has been researched professionally and that information made available to our churches. We chose to make things easier for our churches. And the good thing is, in Australia, there are subsidies available to our churches to purchase these systems. I know that the Christian Services for the Blind and the Hearing Impaired at the Division Office will provide a $500 subsidy towards the product. Some conferences, such as the Western Australian Conference here, will match that subsidy. On top of that, Christian Services for the Blind and Hearing Impaired have entered into a wholesale trading arrangement with the manufacturer of these products, the Australian distributor, so they can obtain the products at a wholesale reduced price and pass that on to our churches. If you link that with the subsidies, you will find, for example, that the Listen Everywhere system, which works with Wi-Fi via phones, you can obtain that now for around about $1,000. That doesn't include the subsidies that might be available from some of the conferences. You'll see on the slide here contact details for Christian Services for the Blind and Hearing Impaired. I'll speak it into the microphone for the benefit of those who might also have vision impairment. It's Christian Services for the Blind and Hearing Impaired. Lockbag 1115, Wahroonga, New South Wales, 2076, Australia. The street address is 150 Fox Valley Road, Wahroonga, New South Wales, 2076. The phone numbers, the direct phone number is 02 9847 2296, or you can go through the main office, 02 9847 2222. The email address is csfbhi@adventistmedia, one word, .org.au. And the website is the same, csfbhi.adventistchurch, one word, .com. In the United States and all other countries, the Listen Technologies Manufacturing Corporation Global Headquarters is located at 14912 Heritage Crest Way, Bluffdale, Utah, 84065-4818 USA. The phone numbers there are +1 801 233 8992. There's a toll-free number there, 1-800 330 0891. The office hours are 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Mountain Time, Monday to Friday. The email address is info@listentech, listentech.com, and the website is listentech.com, the same. If you want to get a book, a hard copy book, or an e-copy book that explains all these things I've just told you, you can get a free copy from Christian Services for the Blind and Hearing Impaired. This is the booklet I wrote a couple of years ago, which explains all these technologies. You can get that from csfbhi.adventistchurch.com/resources-page/. That ends our seminar. For direct contact, if you want to contact me to discuss these things in more detail or get more information, you can contact me via my private email at gmw@westnet.com.au. Thank you for listening.